I'll call our meeting to order. Ms. Bradham, did we notify the media?
We did.
Thank you. And I do declare that we have a quorum with 6 of 7 board members present. I know Ms. Kitt is on her way. We will need approval for the agenda to move forward.
I make the motion that we approve today's agenda.
I'll
Second.
Thank you. Any questions? All in favor of approving the agenda, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? I want to welcome everyone today, and as we have been doing the past few months, I want to go around the table and do tell me something good. So, Mr. Hughes, I'm going to start with you.
I didn't make the trip to Clemson Saturday. That's good.
My something good is today is my oldest baby's birthday. She's 14, but I'm gonna have to do some making up when I get home because she's mad that I'm at my board meeting.
You should have brought her with you.
My something good is that my knee replacement, it is healing great. Thank God for that.
My something good will be that a couple weeks ago, we were able to celebrate my parents' 60th wedding anniversary.
Oh, that's fantastic. Mine's something good is that I got to have my oldest daughter home from school this weekend, so that was fun.
Oh, something good. We're excited that after 24 years in our house, we're redoing our kitchen.
That's
So
fantastic.
my wife is so excited.
That might
I
not
have
be
no
good, too.
doubt. Thanks, everyone. And I just welcome everyone here tonight. And Miss Nance, we are so glad to have you back. I'm glad that
Thank
you're
you.
recovering well, and it's good to have you back around the table.
Thank you.
So, if now we will stand, and I'm going to let, is Miss Penland here? Oh, there you are. I'm going to let Miss Penland announce or introduce our students that are going to lead us in the pledge.
Thank you. We have 5 students here with us from Ford. We have Mia Sanchez, Macy Pittman, Mason Livingston, Lilea Neely, and Trace Neely. And Mia is going to begin our pledge for us.
Please stand and join us in the Pledge of Allegiance to the American flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you.
Thank you. I appreciate you guys leading us tonight. And now, if I could, Miss Nance, would you lead us in a prayer?
Yes, let us pray. Our Heavenly Father, we come this evening, Lord God, recognizing you as the high priest, King of Kings, and we say thank you. We thank you, Lord, for your love and grace that you sustain us each and every day. Father God, we ask you continue to bless this district, bless the administrative staff, and especially our children, God. And as your board, give us wisdom, God, to make good decisions throughout the board meeting. And we're just grateful. And I say amen.
Amen.
Amen. Thank you, Miss Nance. Now, we will need approval for our minutes from the August 25th meeting, if I could get a motion for that.
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes.
I'll second.
Thank you. Any questions or discussion? All those in favor of approving the minutes for the August 25th board meeting, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The motion is approved. And now I'll turn it over to Ms. Kim Penland for our report for Ford Elementary.
Good evening.
Good evening.
I'm honored to be here tonight to share information about Ford Elementary School. I am proud to be the principal of such a special place with such a dedicated staff and hardworking students. I am proud to be an Eagle again, and I want to thank our students, Mia, Macy, Mason, Lilela, and Trace, for being here tonight. I appreciate their help with the Pledge of Allegiance, and they will also help with a part of our presentation tonight. board's demographics include 21% African American, 42% Hispanic Latino, 31% white, and 6% two or more races, with a poverty index of 89.8%. I would like to begin by pointing out big idea number 1 from the book, The Illustrated Guide to Visible Learning. This book presents the research from John Hattie and others on the visible learning strategies that work best in schools. Big idea number 1, as Dr. Penland has presented before, explains the importance of creating a positive 5-star climate before learning and achievement can take place. Last school year at Ford, we focused on the environment. We set expectations for safety, instruction, and behavior. This year, we have continued our focus on climate through our 5-star Eagle values. Our school theme this year is Excellence in Every Flight, powered by 5-star Eagles. Our 5-star Eagle values of respect, responsibility, resilience, readiness, and results help guide us to strive for excellence. We talk about our 5-star Eagle values each day to help the students understand how they can show these values and achieve excellence in every flight that they take. Tonight, our students will share what each value means, and I will add a little more about how we live it at school each day. Trace will share about respect.
Respect means we treat everyone with kindness and care.
Hang on just a second. At our school, respect is the foundation of a safe and supportive community. We model kindness, listen to each other, and value every voice. Mason will share about responsibility.
Responsibility. We take ownership of our choices and actions.
We teach students that their actions matter, whether it's completing assignments, being on time, or treating others well. Responsibility helps our Eagles grow as leaders.
Resilience. Resilience means we keep going even when it is hard.
Challenges are opportunities to learn. We celebrate effort, persistence, and the courage to keep trying until we succeed. Thank you, Macy. Now Mia will share about readiness.
Readiness. Readiness means we come prepared to learn and grow.
When our Eagles are ready with materials, focus, and a positive mindset, they open the door to discovery and achievement each day. And Lileah will share with us about results.
Results means we set goals and we achieve them with pride.
Very good.
We encourage students to dream big, set goals, and work hard to reach them. The pride in the results motivates us to soar even higher. Here is a picture of our 5-star Eagle values in action. Our students and staff have the opportunity to fill out 5-star Eagle shout-out cards and turn them in to be announced during morning announcements. These shout-outs identify which Eagle values were displayed and provide a short description of the actions of others. Once the shout-outs are announced, they are added to our board for everyone to see. It is a pleasant time for students and staff to hear their names announced with an explanation of how they are soaring to excellence in every flight, powered by these 5-star Eagle values. Thank you, students, for sharing our values tonight. We feel that the focus on these values have helped to continue the work to create a 5-star culture of excellence. This focus on climate first fosters the learning environment so that our Eagles will continue to grow, learn, and achieve. Thank you. You may sit down. Now let's take an eagle's eye view of our data. Preliminary SC Ready scores show an overall increase in both ELA and math achievement. We know that we still have much work to do to continue this growth in order to close the achievement gap, but we are proud to see the progress. The Read to Succeed law affects third grade students who are scoring below expectations either on MAP or SC Ready at the end of the year. At the beginning of the 24-25 school year, we had 54 third grade students who scored below MAP expectations. After looking at the exemptions, which may include previous retentions or services provided, this number reduced to 37. But at the end of the year, through the hard work of our staff and our students, last year, this large number was reduced to only 9 students at the end of last year. And throughout the school year last year, we talked as a staff that this large Read to Succeed number was the responsibility of everyone, not just third grade teachers. We worked just as hard in kindergarten through second grades as in third through fifth grades to provide high quality instruction that would help change these high numbers of low performance. This year, fall MAP scores indicate that we have 37 third graders who scored below expectations, but after exemptions, we have 23 Read to Succeed students. This lower number shows evidence of growth that more third graders are showing readiness than the previous year. Also, overall fall 2025 mean MAP scores show an increase in both reading and math when compared to the overall 2024 fall mean MAP scores. In addition, for the first time in 5 years, our academic interventionists are able to serve all of the students who scored below the 20th percentile in reading. In previous years, there have been 30 or more students who have scored below the 20th percentile, restricting our interventionists from serving all of the students who needed their services. And due to an increase in student achievement, we have 14 new Beta Club members who will be inducted into this new club led by Lisa Laird, our guidance counselor. We will continue to soar for success. Some of our next steps for moving forward include academic goals of setting student growth goals based on current data, constant data analysis, and making math and science a focus due to lower academic performance in these areas. The STEM lab has already helped to focus on both of these subjects in all grade levels. We will continue our work with thinking maps and right from the beginning to include narrative training for teachers. Since our ML progress is still low on access testing that takes place in January, we're working hard to make data-driven instructional decisions to help these students show progress when they take this test again. We also have a scheduled when time, and that means what I need time, in all grade levels to focus on small group instruction. Classroom guidance lessons are scheduled consistently to help us to stay focused on the 5-star Eagle values. 5-star Eagle shout-outs will continue and help keep our school climate positive. We also still have community support from local churches and businesses and the School Improvement Council. The collaborative learning that takes place with our reading buddies and the Good News Club really makes a difference with our students. They enjoy the positive relationships and the one-on-one time. And thank you, Ms. Nance, for your participation as one of our reading buddies. Our school theme is Excellence in Every Flight, powered by 5-Star Eagles. Our 5-Star Eagle values of respect, responsibility, resilience, readiness, and results will help guide our Eagles to excellence. At Ford Elementary, excellence is more than a goal. It's in every flight that we take. Thank you for your time and your support, and we invite you to come visit us to watch our eagles soar.
That's good.
Thank you, Ms. Penland. We will move right along to district updates with Dr. Penland.
Sure. There's several components to our updates, so I'll just kind of keep it brief with my words. So again, Ms. Penland did kind of reiterate our building a five-star culture of excellence, and thank you so much for everything you're doing and everything that you do for the kids there at Ford. We are doing a 2.0, so the district update for building that five-star culture of excellence. We have the theme of anchored in accountability. And again, the 5 A's for the five-star culture. We'll focus on the academics, the arts, the athletics, the attendance, and atmosphere. And very much of what Ms. Penland just reiterated, we're looking at as a district. So whenever we're anchored in the accountability, we are looking at celebrating our academics for the students who last year scored 100 on their EOCEP. We'll be recognizing them at the football game on October 17th, and that's the Wren football game. So we'll be able to acknowledge about 68 100s that were scored. Some of those will be dual students that scored 100 on 2 or more exams. So it's not right at 68 students, but we'll be celebrating them at the football game. Also focusing on our academics, in October, we'll be celebrating the National Disability Employment Awareness Month. We'll be able to house that and actually celebrate that throughout our schools. And also on October the 29th, we'll be having and partnering with the Lawrence Interagency Committee to plan and host the Disability Employment Awareness Luncheon at the Ridge. And we'll be sending out invitations to you for that, but that is October the 29th. And we'll be sharing that. And this is the 80th anniversary of the National Disability Employment Awareness Month. And again, this year's theme is celebrating value and talent. Whenever we start looking at the arts, we want to appreciate everything that Jenny Carty continues to do for us. She wrote an arts grant for each one of our schools, and all 9 were awarded. So we'll be getting $90,000 for the grants for the arts. Here in the next few weeks, we'll be receiving those GANs, and we'll actually be able to put in their plans into place for that. So again, thank you to Jenny Carty for writing those, and Cindy Wright for leading that initiative for us too. On our athletics, we did want to celebrate our girls golf team received their first win last week, and appreciate our coaches, and one of those is Mr. Little, who's also assistant coach there and volunteers his time for that. So it was a great win for them. 2 of the girls scored a 45, and one shot a 47. So they were able to receive their win this past weekend, or this past week. We did have homecoming last week, or 2 weeks ago, I guess it is now, from this Friday. And we had homecoming queen, Satira, I think is Satara. Yeah, Epting was our queen, and we had the other 4 that represented the school in their grade level. So congratulations to them also. Again, for our October fall break, and we lost a little bit of the formatting there, but students and teachers will be looking at the left-hand side. So October, students and teachers will be off the entire week. Coming back on the 13th for Professional Development Day. Students will return on the 14th. 260-day employees will work like a summer week, so they'll work the 4 days, the 6th through the 9th, be off the 10th, and we'll be back for the Professional Development Week, Professional Development Day on October 13th. And again, as we get ready to start talking about data, and whenever Ms. Lackrose comes up, perfection is not attainable, but if we chase perfection, we will catch excellence. And whenever we're focusing on the 5-star culture of excellence, that's what we're after, and that's a quote by Vince Lombardi. So I'll turn it over to Ms. Lackrose.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Just as a reminder for those that may be listening, I'm Amanda Lackrose, Director of Accountability. Federal programs and professional learning. Today I'm here to talk to you about the state assessment scores from last school year, the 24-25 school year. To just kind of summarize, we have high school end of course exams that take place in December each year. We're not allowed to share those results until all results are in. The rest of the end of course exams are given in the spring, and then all of our SC Ready for grades 3 through 8, both in English Language Arts, which is ELA, and mathematics are given in the spring. So all of those assessments were given in the spring. They are scored outside of the district, obviously. It's at, the state manages that. We get preliminary results in late July. We continue to get results. We got finalized results, I would say the beginning of September, and then now we are getting results that will actually impact the school report cards, and those will come out next month. So what you'll see tonight is very similar to the packet that I sent last week. Our high school end of course exam scores actually went up a little bit since I sent you that packet, because there were some scores that we had of students that did very well that did not get counted for whatever reason. I just want to say a big thank you to our district test coordinator, Angie Bigham, as well as Megan Culbertson and Cassie Powers at the high school for taking the time to go person by person, student by student, assessment by assessment to find missing scores. We found 2 missing scores for grade court as well this morning. So, you know, those are things that are going to matter when our report cards come out. So with that, I'll kind of get us started. We are, of course, you've heard a couple times today, building a 5-star culture of excellence. And one of those areas that we are focusing on is academics. We need to have a strong school climate in order for learning to take place, and then from the learning, that's where we start to see the achievement, and that's what I'm going to talk to you about tonight. I'm very excited to share with you the next couple of slides. Actually, I want to share with you our goals. We did talk about, and I feel that Dr. Penland just spoke to this when he said that if we chase perfection, then we're going to get improvement or excellence. That's what it was, is excellence. Vince Lombardi, I should know. Sorry. But what we are doing is we are chasing this orange line. The state of South Carolina's Department of Ed has created a goal for all districts, or for the state overall, to have 75% of all students proficient in our state assessments by 2030. So the orange line is taking us from where we were in 2017, 2018 school year to the 2029-2030 school year. So you will notice that the green line is Lawrence 55, so we're a little below our projected rate of where we want to be. The blue line is the state average, and so you may notice, and I gave you a variety of other graphs as well that do the same thing, and so I'm explaining to you what you're seeing in your packet. We do follow pretty much the state's dips and rises, but what we are doing is our distance between the green line and the blue line is getting smaller. This right now is showing you our SC Ready English Language Arts proficiency rate. We are getting closer and closer to the state average every year that we go, and so we're pleased about that. We're also obviously on a trajectory to catch that orange line. And so that is our goal. We have set district goals that we'll be sharing with you next month when the report cards come out that are specifically designed to get us to that orange line in all of the areas that you saw in the packet. Obviously in math, when you take a look at math, we again are following the state with the dips and the rises and things. We have a little bit more work to do in the area of math. We're going to talk to you a little bit about that tonight. Wendy Burgess, Director of Teaching and Learning, is going to come up towards the end of the presentation with me, and we'll share what she and I have been working on to help move that needle. So, but these next couple of slides we're really pleased with, and let me explain a little bit about what you're seeing. If you recall, 2020 was the year that we do not have any scores because that was COVID. So if you go back and you look at these graphs, those are those big dips. You see them at that 2020-21 school year. After COVID, achievement dropped. It dropped everywhere. It dropped here in Lawrence, it dropped in the state, it dropped nationally. And now obviously our goal is to increase. These are our scores for 24-25 ELA, English Language Arts, so that is our reading and writing, in each of our elementary schools. We had schools that set goals for themselves last year, anywhere from 10 to 15%. You will notice E.B. Morris and Ford Elementary School grew more than 10% from the previous year. We have not seen growth like this in anywhere in the chart. So for the past 6 years, and we're really pleased with that. You will notice that Gray Court was not that far behind with 8.7% growth. And Lawrence Elementary also grew. Our Hickory Tavern grew by 16.5%, and Waterloo grew at 11.8%. Those two schools are in a little bit of a different color because they are above the state average. Lawrence 55, our goal is to not be at the state average, it is to be above the state average. And Hickory Tavern Elementary and Waterloo Elementary have already achieved that. And so our goal is to keep them there and keep them moving forward. So that is a big celebration. At the middle school, you'll notice all 4 of our middle schools grew in their achievement from the year before. Again, we had upwards of almost 10% at Gray Court Middle and at Hickory Tavern Middle School. Lawrence Middle was not that far behind with a 7.3% increase. Our high school English, and this is where your number is going to see a little differently than that was in the packet, because this is what got adjusted and we were pleased with that, was, if you recall, English 1 used to be the end of course exam, so I kept that on there so that you have some historical perspective of how we did when the assessment was given at English 1, and it was moved in the 22-23 school year to English 2. We started out with a 49% proficient. We went to 56.85. Now we're at 57.1. And we're closing in on the state average as well. We also, if you refer back to your packet that I sent out last week, if you look at their graph, the English 2 graph is at the orange goal line that we're looking at. So that, however, that's not where we're going to stop. We need to keep growing every year, and we want to be above that orange line. So we'll continue to work there. But all of this growth and all of this progress is a result of the hard work of our administrators and our teachers in the building. We are implementing the TAP. We started with the TAP model last year. We kept a lot of pieces of the TAP model. We call it the Lawrence 55 model. That involves our district instructional leadership team. It involves our school-based instructional leadership teams. We have instructional coaches at every building. It's about, it's less than half of what we had last year. However, they are still working diligently to provide clusters, which are weekly professional learning, to our staff, as well as analyzing student work, analyzing student data that Ms. Penland had just referred to with the MAP testing and things, to find out what do students need to know and where are they struggling, what additional supports do they need, and where are we doing well, and we want to continue to move in that direction and continue to do. We don't want to stop doing something if we know that it's working. So we are continuing with that model to do that. So we have those systems in place, and that's what we're building on. Did you have a question you wanted to ask?
Can you help me better understand what these percentages really represent?
Yes.
Is this a test that they took, that they only certain percentage, is it pass, fail, or is it a percentage at a certain threshold?
Right, so it is proficiency. The percentages that we're looking at are proficiency. So proficiency in the SC Ready is that students are either meeting expectations or exceeding expectations. You combine that number together, and that's the percentage that you're seeing.
Okay.
So the percentage you're not seeing is that they either do not meet or they're approaching proficiency. And so our job is to implement those systems we have in place to move those kids up and then keep those that are there up there.
And that's through the state, the testing, state
Correct.
testing.
This is the
Yeah.
state testing. At the high school, it's a little different, just so that you're aware. On the EOC, there's an A, B, C, D. There's an F. But A, B, and C are proficient. Anything below that is not proficient. So that's what those percentages are.
Thank you.
So obviously, I had mentioned that, you know, we have some work to do in math. We did see some growth and some progress in math. Once again, you see EB has a 7.5% increase in math. Ford as well increased in math, along with Gray Court Elementary. Some of our other schools slipped a little bit. Waterloo, however, you will see again is in blue, which means not only did they increase, but they are above the state average. The state average, and I want to keep in mind when you look at these scores here, although Hickory Tavern did drop a little bit, they are 40.7 and they're very close to that state average. They are our second highest percentage in the district, but there's some things that we'll look at and help support them with through those structures that we're using to continue to help them move forward. We have a number of other things that we'll talk a little bit about as well in math and science towards the end. At middle school, which has always seemed to be our biggest area that we're really concerned about with math, we did see growth, which we are pleased about at Hickory Tavern and Lawrence Middle and at Sanders. Obviously, we want to see much more growth in math. So those structures that we put in place last year with the TAP model and now is the Lawrence 55 model, we will continue those, and we are focusing the majority of our professional development days and our analyzing of student work in the area of math this year, because we did it in English language arts last year and clearly it worked, and now our focus will be math. At the high school, we have Algebra 1. As you know, that is building from all of the years before, and so when we have our previous years that are lower, we anticipate that we're probably going to see that as they get to the high school. They do make up quite a bit of ground when they get to the high school, but we need our students coming out of the middle school to be a little bit higher, and then our high school to continue to make up ground. I just want to put on your radar that Algebra 1 next year, or this school year, will only be those that are repeating, so we have very few people taking the Algebra 1 end of course exam. The following year, then we will have almost 2 grades taking the, the Algebra 1, and it will be at the end of sophomore year. So the whole state of South Carolina has moved Algebra 1 to the end of sophomore year rather than the end of freshman year. And then we also have science was assessed for the very first time last year with the new science standards. And we saw a little bit of growth in our schools that were a little bit lower. 2 years ago, last year, you'll notice there are no scores. And so we'll continue to work there. We're excited for the things that are going on within the district, and we'll talk, Ms. Burgess will talk about those in just a minute. Our middle schools, 3 of our 4 schools went up in the area of science. And then at our high school, it was 2 years ago that we saw some big jumps in the end of course exams for proficiency in high school. We've kept those relative levels, but we're not moving up. So there's some things that we're gonna work on at the high school as far as our approaches to the TAP model and implementing the analyzing of student work and things like that. So, you know, now the question is, okay, all those results are great, but now what, right? So I'm gonna have Ms. Burgess come up with me, because we've been working hand in hand in developing our staff, in supporting our schools, and really working to look at individual student data and to implement primarily that Lawrence 55 model, which is our district instructional leadership team, which we co-facilitate the building level instructional leadership teams, the clusters that we run every week for our teachers, because it's a big support to them. So we are going to continue the Lawrence 55 model, and then we're also doing some other pieces, so we'll kind of speak about those. If you want to talk about that.
Happy to. So within our Lawrence 55 model, another layer that we've added this year is we are actually bringing our school administrators once a quarter to meet with us during our district leadership team meeting, and that gives us a chance to work with them on looking at our district level data and making those strides to be very laser focused so that we have that common language. We also are using the visible learning. You heard Ms. Penland talk about the visible learning, the John Hattie The research has been done for us. All we have to do is learn the model and implement that with our Lawrence 55 model, which Amanda and I spent all day today in a meeting, and we'll spend all day again tomorrow to also to support that visible learning implementation. Of course, another layer that we are adding is the high quality instructional materials. We've done a great job with implementing the ELA high quality learning materials. Now we are very focused on the math. As you all know, y'all approved our new curriculum last spring, and so all of those items are now in the hands of teachers and students. And so you also approved those early release days, that was another wonderful layer to add for professional development. So now the teachers have their full days and they have those early release days. And so that's where we will be working on those math and science standards to increase those scores. Thinking about personalized learning and data analysis.
Yeah, so during cluster, our instructional coaches, they help teachers to analyze student work. So they're taking the actual work that the students have done, they analyze that. What do the students need to work on? What have they mastered already? So we can move on past that and spend more time on what they need help with. And so that personalized learning and that data analysis, we feel, has been the key to the huge growth that we've started to see in English language arts, and we're going to continue that both in math and in science and our other subject areas, and that is supported by that weekly cluster that we do, as long with some of our new tools and resources that we'll talk about in just a second with STEAM and MAF.
And a good example of the data analysis is what Ms. Brown showed y'all last year when we were talking about keeping the Lawrence 55 model here in Lawrence County. And remember how she had that folder and it opened up and the students were coded green, yellow, and red? That is a breakdown of every student's data being analyzed so that the school level leadership teams know exactly where every student is and how and where to move them. And we actually watched this in process with Ms. Penland last year, and so I just want to, it just really resonated as she presented her third grade numbers, because as they worked through their data with their individual teacher folders, they really laser focused on those students that were not meeting that third grade cut score, and that is how, and they used every minute of the day with those students. And those students were not just that third grade teacher students, they really belonged to the entire building. She pulled in her PE teacher, her art teacher, cafeteria staff. Everybody was supporting those students to help pull them up. So that part is pivotal, and that has been a big change that I feel like we have seen in Lawrence School District 55 under Amanda's leadership. But of course, we always want to celebrate STEAM. That is Dr. Penland's vision. We had a wonderful STEAM on the Square Day. As you know, we have added what we endearingly refer to her as Miss Frizzle. Miss Frizzle is, all the kids know Miss Frizzle. She's a cartoon character, and she does all these science experiments. Well, we now have Miss Frizzle. She was actually dressed like Miss Frizzle today. She went and visited a school, but she'll be in all the schools supporting the STEM labs. We have adopted our STEM lab curriculum. We are thrilled about this. The STEAM bus, full rollout the last week of September. If you are available on September the 29th, Fox 21 is coming to Lawrence Elementary School to watch Miss Frizzle in action and to watch our kids use drones. So please come join us. We're excited about that. And then, of course, the use of AI, because whether we like it or not, the world is becoming technology savvy. We need to know how to drive those Tesla trucks, et cetera, and so on. So we've got a couple AI supports that we can access through the South Carolina Learns application that the state has funded, and then also ClassLink. Some of those include Edmentum is something that we fund at the district level, but Amira is what we use for ELA, and then for math we have Alex with the math adoption. But what those items generate is that personalized learning for those students. So the students, when they click in on their Chromebook or their iPad, they get a computer friend that helps them study their ELA and their math skills. And so that provides them what they need during their win time. So we're really excited about growing that in Lawrence School District 55. And then last but not least, school plans.
School plans. So if you recall, 3 years ago when I came in, it was the first time the state required school improvement plans. And so we did school improvement plans for the schools that were identified that needed to do those. And then we quickly rolled into, a couple months later, every school had a school plan. Last year, every school had a school plan. That is part of the Lawrence 55 model. So every one of our schools already has a school plan. They have school goals. They have identified what their target percentage for growth will be. As I mentioned, some of our schools met that in ELA last year. We want to set those high. We're going to continue to set those high. And then they identify how they're going to get there. And then this year we did it a little bit different, and I'll let Ms. Burgess talk about that, but she and I have been to all but 2 schools so far, and
That has been a fabulous, fabulous extension of what we've been doing with school plans. We've gone to each school one-on-one, sat down with them, they went through their data, and they talked through their strengths and their areas of growth, and it has just really been a great time for them to share what they are doing. It's been a good time for us to talk about common language and what we're doing to push our district and our schools individually to level up. Dr. Harris says it nicely. He says that if you got a coach out there and they don't have a plan of improvement or they don't have a plan in general, what are you going to do with that coach? Well, Dr. Penland and Dr. Harris, sometimes I think they probably sit across the table from the two of us and they think, oh my, oh me, I don't know which one. But there's always a plan here, and we're always pushing for excellence. So I promise you, we're going to continue to level up in terms of teaching and learning and data.
So with that, I'll just let you know what's coming next month, as well as what's coming for packets. Okay, so my plan is to give you a district assessment report. You have the first draft of that with the assessment results that was sent to you on Wednesday. Obviously, there are some numbers that were changed already because the state's playing with some things. So I will give you the finalized assessment results next meeting, because then they're final. We can't change them even if they got it wrong. You will have report card ratings. You will have student progress, which we've had some big student progress in some of our schools. Remember, the very first year we saw Waterloo's rating go up, and it was because of student progress. It was not because of the achievement, and then achievement quickly followed. So student progress is the first step. Multilingual learner progress, school climate, which you've heard a lot about today, because that's first, learning second, achievements third. Graduation rates, college and career readiness, and then if you have any clarifications or any questions or any additional information you want me to add, just let me know what that is, and I'll try to provide that for you. So with that, do you have questions for either one of us or for me with our lots of things?
Thank you. I appreciate it.
You're welcome.
Dr. Harris.
All right, good evening to the board and everyone here in attendance tonight. We'll switch gears a little bit and talk about operations for a few minutes. I wanted to begin by just giving a shout out to my guys in maintenance. This is our crew of 8 who do such a good job for us every day. These guys literally go through hundreds of maintenance requests each month. And they do a good job getting to that and really are hard workers. Drew Allen is our supervisor, then Brent Crawford, Seth Hill, Matthew Malone, Toe Patterson, Albert Sharp, Cody Smith, and Josh Smith are our maintenance crew. And we're going to be losing Cody. I wanted to recognize him publicly. He's going to be moving over and working closer to home in Greenwood, so I want to thank him for several years here in Lawrence 55 and the good work that he's done, and we'll be replacing him, but he'll be difficult to replace. We have been going through and talking about the Sanders building. It's been very exciting for us to have something brand new here in Lawrence 55 as far as classrooms are concerned. I want to give a shout out to EdCon and Josh Edwards and Lance Franks. From the general contractor, EdCon, they did a tremendous job for us. We're a great partner in that project. Also, the McMillan, Paston & Smith, Ben is here tonight. He represents that company as well. The architects and Michael Tuning with design, and then Larry Bishop with the day-to-day did a really good job for us, and we appreciate those guys. Just a few pictures from Sanders if you haven't seen the building. This is it from I guess that would be the south end, and then just the full scope of the building, and then inside the building. And again, we just feel like they did a tremendous job for us in putting this building together. And it took a little bit of time and some effort, and they worked with us a lot to get the price down where we could afford this, but we came out with a very nice building, and we had a great time over there recently with the dedication for the building. I wanted to read just some student comments about the building. I found these kind of interesting. Connor says, "It makes me feel more focused. The old building would get me distracted, but this building is so clean and it's easier to do my work." And that's the type of thing we like to hear. "This building has positively affected my education by giving me a clean environment and a good workspace to do my work easier." That's Cameron. "The new building has more equipment for us to use in science. Everything looks new and smells better than the other building. It's overall an awesome building. The building is big and the classes are right beside each other. The classes are bigger and we have more materials. It is super duper clean." Okay? And "It has been nice. The building is nice and the water tastes good." And this is the best one. "This new building has affected my education by separating me from all the other drama in other grades. The furniture is very nice." Now, I had no idea there was drama in middle school. Okay, so this was our time over with the dedication. Dr. Penland, of course, had some words to say. Ms. Little was there. Josh Dawkins came back. He was the principal before Mr. Schwabe and was with us through this project. And he was back to celebrate that. Mr. Schwabe is our new principal over there. He's doing a great job so far. And again, the kids, and this is why we do it for these kids, and they're very excited about the new building. So Sanders has been a success, and we're very proud of the work that's been done over there. I wanted to talk a little bit about safety-related work that we've had done or have ongoing here in the district right now. Safety gates at Hickory Tavern, Sanders, and LPA. These are grant-funded things. I'll show you a picture of those in just a second. Some access work for those are in progress, so this work is going on right now. We've had some new intercoms go in buildings. I think Ford was the last one that got one, and they are doing work over at E.B. Morse right now. A couple of elevators that we had to do a lot of work on. That was a much more expensive project than you might imagine, but we've got a lot of upgrades done to the elevators at Gray Court and also at Ford. The GCO entrance, we'll be putting in a new entrance there at that building, and it will be much safer up front as a result of that. You may have seen down at the end of the high school some new fencing going up down there. That is completed. And then delayed egress, we have all of our elementary self-contained rooms will be getting delayed egress, and that work is in progress right now. The gates that I'm talking about look like this. These will be mechanized, and so these are up. Fencing is up, and we're waiting right now for A3 Communications to give us the electronic part of that. This is down at the end of the Sanders building near the kitchen. This gate goes in there, and it will be the same type of outfit. And then at LPA, this is what we call a pre-hung gate right here, and it will have access where they can buzz in from way away from where they'll have to go in. And we have a new awning going down there to LPA as well. So some good work. B&W Fence has done this work at all three places. We have a new grant that we'll find out about probably in November. We applied for this grant. This is safety, and this is what we'll be looking to purchase should we get those funds. The Centegix badge activated alert system for all schools. This will be a badge that people will wear, and they'll be able to alert us if something is going on, and they could let us know, what type of, whether someone is needed in particular areas of the building. This is a system that District 56 uses, and we're very excited about being able to perhaps get that. camera system at Lawrence High School is going to be comprehensive. We got money in the last grant for that. Didn't quite have enough, so we reapplied for some more here so we can get the system that we need. Window tint is big in the state right now, and even bulletproof window tint. And we've got some money, we're asking for some money for that so we can better secure some high-risk areas that we have, areas near roads, things like that, where, or walk-in areas where in front of schools that we might be able to put some of that in. So we're working towards that. Door locks for all schools, that's something that's ongoing, and this is a $1.2 million total request from the state. We hope to put that to good work. Upcoming and ongoing work. In October, around October 20th, we'll be doing HVAC in the auxiliary gym. That's a pretty big project. 12 HVAC replacements at several schools. The Anderson Drive property, if you've driven by there lately, you've noticed that we've bush hogged out there, and we're starting the process of cleaning that up and getting that ready for transportation next year. I mentioned delayed egress already. Parking lot lighting upgrades at the high school and also here at the district office. Gym work at Lawrence Middle School. We had to do a lot of outdoor work there first to keep water from running in under the door into the building, and we're going to, after we got that solved, we're going to look at a new gym floor for Lawrence Middle School. We'll have the parking lot sealed and coated and painted at the high school, the student parking. That's going to happen in October. We have 2 roofing projects going on this year. LPA and at Lawrence High School will finish the pod area there, the flat part of the pods, and get that done. And then we've got some new commons flooring at Lawrence High School. If you haven't seen that, that came out to be a very good project and a very good look for that school. And then the last thing on my list is we had a meeting last week with teachers and staff from around the district, Teachers of the Year. And I have 14 items that were given to me from that meeting on 9/10 that I'm trying to work through now. We have another meeting coming up with students, so I'll have another list to keep me busy going forward. So that's what I have for you. That was short and sweet. Anybody got any questions? Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Harris. Several of us were able to come to the ribbon cutting at Sanders, and I enjoyed that very much. My eyes got wide though when you guys offered them sugary, unlidded drinks and cookies to take into that new building. I was like, what are we doing? But anyway, it was a great day. I was happy to be there. Now up next on our list is we will talk to Millstone Towers, and I believe there are some representatives here.
Good evening, Madam Chair. Dr.
Good
Fallon,
evening.
Dr. Harris, thank you for the opportunity to present, give you an update, respected board, on the project, and also answer any questions that you may have on the project as well. With me, I do have Andrew Peterson, who's a licensed RF engineer that is here to answer any specific RF questions that you may have. We also have representatives from AT&T and FirstNet that are available if there's any specific questions for AT&T or FirstNet as well. So quick update on who we are. Essentially, we've been in business for almost 25 years. We're based out of Reston, Virginia. We do a lot of work with private-public partnerships, a lot of municipalities and school districts all throughout the East Coast and Southeast. That's really our primary focus is when we have a challenging site, when the carriers have a challenging site, they come to Milestone and work with us. So, we've developed over 200 sites. We have a lot of districts in South Carolina specifically that we work with. We established towers on their properties. And again, in exchange for that, there's a revenue share that is provided to the school districts to generate additional funds for them. Some of the current partnerships include Greenville, Pickens, Richland 2, Charleston County, Kershaw, These are a few that are specifically in South Carolina. In terms of the background of the project, essentially the project came to us as a result of a need, a critical need that it was highlighted by both AT&T and T-Mobile. Today there's a water tank that is near Lawrence Middle School that essentially is coming down. I believe it's scheduled to come down in March of next year. Currently, both AT&T and T-Mobile are on that water tank with their antennas, and essentially need a new place to go. If we don't find a place, essentially that coverage, will create a significant coverage gap and potentially emergency management concerns for the coverage area that you see highlighted here. So we worked with Dr. Harris and Dr. Penland to identify a proper location that we thought would be appropriate for the coverage that is needed to exchange. Here you can see a little bit of the T-Mobile coverage, and what you see on the left is essentially without the coverage, without the antennas, either on the water tank or a new location. And you see the coverage on the right is the coverage with the based on the new location. And here you see the one for AT&T as well. The left is without the water tank, and to the right is with the coverage with the antennas. So you can see the darker colors in both is essentially showing you that the coverage essentially where it's targeted and what the biggest impact is going to be. In terms of FirstNet, there is a significant gap in terms of AT&T partners with FirstNet to provide essentially a specialized service for emergency management folks. So in case of an emergency, they have a special broadband that they use, and they can still communicate in the case of some sort of emergency. And these are all the different agencies in Lawrence that are using that FirstNet, and potentially would be impacted as a result of losing that coverage here. We did hold a community meeting back in May this year, essentially where we talked about the project, talked about the site itself. We send out notices to about a half-mile radius. There was 2 notices that went out, two weeks before and 1 week before. We held it on a Zoom call. Typically, we do that simply because it allows us to record it, but also allows folks to attend, if you're not able to make it back from, in time to a particular location, right? We had about 6 attendees, I believe, at that call. And as a result of that call, we did make some modifications. I'll walk through a couple slides that show you that, essentially. So essentially here, it's, it is adding, the project is adding a, critical infrastructure to an area of need, meaning that there is no place for AT&T, T-Mobile, or even Verizon once the water tank is gone. We did make changes as a result of the town hall to the tower. We did get feedback during the call about visibility, visual impact. The height, I think, originally was around 240, 235 in terms of feet. And as a result, we worked with both AT&T and T-Mobile to determine what if they could go lower, right? One of the reasons for going lower is that, at anything above 200 feet, the FAA would require it to be lit, so there'll be a light on the tower that's emitting, constantly. So by reducing the height below 200 feet, we don't have to deal with that requirement. So obviously, it's a less visual impact. Also, the structure type itself changed. Anything above 200 feet requires it to be a lattice tower, so self-supporting, which basically just creates a little bit more visual impact. I know on the way here on the road, there's quite a few lattice towers. Only in Lawrence City itself do you see monopoles. And obviously, monopoles are a little bit less impactful, and so you'll see as a result here that there's less visual impact as a result of that change. Finally, we did clear some critical milestones in terms of regulatory clearance, and specifically NEPA. So that's really the one of the major regulatory hurdles that we have to go through in terms of no environmental impact, no environmental impact to any historic properties, things like that are highlighted as far as that analysis. Here's it's really difficult to see, obviously, in the image here, but we'll post this presentation on the project website as well. But you can see on the left is actually the lattice tower. On the right would be the new design, which it's not visible from this vantage point. On here it is visible. Again, it's much less visible on the left. I'm sorry, on the right than on the left. And then finally here, right directly from it, you can see that you can still see it, but I certainly can't see. Obviously, my sight is not as good as it used to be, but certainly the one on the right is not as visible to me from where I'm standing right now. In terms of fire safety, like I said, Andrew Peterson, who's a licensed PE, can specifically address any of those questions. One thing that I will say from a milestone perspective, with all our agreements that we have, it is critical for us to understand that where we stand on RF emissions. For all the properties that we deal with, municipalities and school districts, we do a test on a yearly basis. It's done by an independent party, and they essentially come on site and will take measurements both outside and inside the buildings to determine what the value is, the emission at that point, and see where how it hits the FCC threshold. So in most of our sites, I would say that threshold is less than 2% of the FCC standard, which is significantly lower. In some cases, it may jump up to 5%, but again, it's relatively, significantly much lower than the FCC standard threshold. One thing that we have done, and Andy can talk a little bit about it, is he's done a model for the current project that essentially looks at, tries to model like the worst case scenario in terms of the antennas, power, how they're pointed, and so on, to show you what that potentially emission rate would be in comparison to the FCC standard. The other thing that we have done is we've commissioned another study that will be the physical study to be taken both at the the park, at the middle school and the elementary school. That will be coordinated within the next couple of weeks with Dr. Harris and Dr. Penland to to have that that third party come in and actually do those readings to establish the baseline. We've been doing these for over 20 years. We have a school district in Virginia, Fairfax County, one of the largest districts in the country. I believe they have about 25 sites, 25 towers on their properties. And they essentially, every year that we send them the report, they have a website where those reports are published. That link is also in this PowerPoint, and they are accessible to the public. In the history that we've been working with Fairfax County, never has any school come even close to the threshold that the FCC establishes. There are several organizations that address FCC's, RF emissions. World Health Organization specifically is the primary one that recently came up with the latest assessment. Again, I'll let Andy address those points since he's really the expert. Another thing that we did recently, just a comparison, we did a similar study at Greer Elementary. Greer High School in this scenario, and this is kind of similar to what we're going to do in the next couple weeks. Before the tower itself, the site, the average emission was 0.3% of the FCC limit. So that's just to recognize that there's always RF emissions in the environment. Without a tower, there is, and obviously in this scenario, there is already antennas that are nearby, so we would expect perhaps a little bit more than that, but I would be surprised if it's significantly more than that. It just kind of shows you a little bit of that study in terms of locations of where the tower is going to be and points where the testing is done. As you can see here, again, this is just trying to show you the rate, the levels, all within a couple percentage points of the overall FCC's threshold that is established. And I think that's going to be it for me. I'm going to switch over to the second presentation. Yes. There is not enough space in that location ultimately for that.
What is the size of the base of the tower?
The ground space that is needed is about a 50 by 50 ground space.
And the water tower is small.
I'm not sure exactly how big the foundation, but in terms of like coordinating and figuring out the transition, right. We have the same problem in currently in Virginia, where another tower is coming down, water tank's coming down, and trying to figure it out with that, right? Because there's not enough space. The foundations come down, and it can be a little tricky, I guess, coordinating wise. So just switch it over to Andy. He can talk about specifically RF emissions.
Thanks, Ozzy. I'm Andrew Peterson, President of DBM Engineering. I've been involved in the design and radio frequency emissions compliance aspects of these types of facilities now for about 30 years. Been accepted as an expert in the field of radio frequency design and electromagnetic emissions in hundreds, if not thousands, of municipal bodies. Hundreds, if not thousands of times, and in state and federal courts, probably 100 times or so over the years. My firm was established in 2006, and I service mainly the major wireless providers and their ecosystem of subcontractors and tower developers, Milestone being a tower developer. I have undergraduate and graduate degrees in electrical engineering, both from Lehigh University, registered and licensed professional engineer. As I said, been doing this work for a few decades now. Specifically for this proposal, what I've done is examine what's being proposed, and I've also examined the existing facilities on the water tank. What I mean when I say I've examined them is I collect all the information of what's being proposed by AT&T and T-Mobile on the new tower, their antenna configurations, the overall structure height, and more importantly, the height that those antennas are planning to be installed. And then using the Office of Engineering Technology Bulletin 65, which is a publication by the Federal Communications Commission. That document has the guidelines that engineers like myself are able to use, and the formulas that we're able to use to assess a facility that's being proposed. It's not on the air yet, so we can't go out and measure what the electromagnetic emissions environment will be like surrounding it, but what we can do is use the formulas that are prescribed in that document, and there's some basics. They are some basic physics formulas that cover the propagation of electromagnetic energy. We use those formulas, and we also use a set of worst case assumptions. And what I like to do, and what I always do, is I use the absolute worst case assumptions. So those include 100% ground reflection. That assumption alone assumes that an individual near a tower is walking on a mirror, which would reflect the incident power 100%, so they are exposed to the direct energy from the antennas by line of sight, and then an equally powerful energy from a reflection from the ground. That single assumption will double the incident power, quadrupling the incident power density. So that single assumption can quadruple the outputs. Beyond that, we use some more obvious worst case assumptions, including maximum antenna gain. So we imagine that we are aware that antenna is focusing the most energy. We assume maximum power output. We negate any attenuation that would be caused by any environmental or man-made clutter like buildings or trees. And then we assume 24/7, 365 exposure with maximum power. And then in this case, I've also assumed a maximum surrounding topography adjustment. So there is some topography in the area. I wouldn't say it's aggressive topography, but there's a difference of maybe 50 feet or so, depending on where we're looking in the areas surrounding the facility, about a quarter mile. So I've assumed that the individual location that's being analyzed is at the peak of that surrounding topography, which will negate some of the gains in the height of the antennas now being elevated a little bit higher than they were at the water tank. So all that being said, and all those worst case assumptions being baked in, the cumulative levels would not exceed 6.02% of the applicable FCC standard at any location surrounding this proposed facility. That's in the compound itself or at any distance near the facility and at any height of ground level surrounding the facility. Again, assuming that worst case in height is in all areas surrounding that facility. In reality, what happens when we do these worst case assessments is there's usually about a 10-fold increase in the output that these assessments yield. So what I mean by that is when we go out and measure, which Milestone has talked about already, that they do have a set schedule to measure these facilities every year, they'll likely find that the exposure levels are going to be less than 1%. My calculations are no more than 6%, and typically it's about 10 times of an exaggeration because of all these upper limit assumptions. So that's what I would fully expect in this case, is that we're demonstrating compliance with this this anticipated exposure report. But I think what we'll find when we go out and do the actual measurements is we'll be about 10 times below or about 0.5%. And when I say 0.5% or 6%, that is measured against the FCC's limits, which are 100%. So anything below 100% is compliant with the FCC standard. In a case like this, I would anticipate being below, worst case at 6%, which is about 20 times below. In reality, it's probably going to be more like 200 times or more below. So the facility will be compliant, and it will be compliant by quite a large margin.
Can I interrupt real quick and ask some questions?
Sure.
So I know the FCC is a federal agency, and you're talking about their compliance, or you're being compliant to their threshold. What I would like to better understand is, if you say that you've got a cellular company has an RF energy that's at the 100% level that FCC says we're going to let you transmit at this level at 100%, is that a harmful? Is that even at 100% of what the FCC says? Is that harmful to humans? In other words, if somehow T-Mobile starts broadcasting at that percentage, can it harm a human?
So I think, just to be clear, that T-Mobile, AT&T, they are transmitting at the maximum power, and my assumption here is that they are transmitting at the maximum power that their installed radios can transmit at 100% of the time, 24 hours a day. That's never the case. That would only occur when the system is fully loaded. And even then, there's some headroom that's left on those radios because there's overhead messaging that has to go back and forth to facilitate calls and a lot of handshaking that goes on. So the reality is those radios can never be fully at 100%. My assumption is that they are at 100%, 24/7, 365. So it's, and I think this is getting to the heart of the question. It's not as if something can break or malfunction and then all of a sudden they're transmitting at 100%. And I didn't mean to imply that they're holding back power. When I say they're, you know, we're saying 6%, that's at ground level, levels of public occupation. Those are the levels of exposure there would be at a maximum around 6% of the FCC's allowable limit of 100%. So I hope that answers your question.
Yeah, I hear what you're saying. So that means that there's no way that T-Mobile or AT&T in this scenario is going to produce a RF energy that's going to be harmful to humans.
There's no way they can exceed the FCC limits. And
is the FCC limits just crazy high then? If we're
No.
talking about FCC says here's 100% and everyone's down here at 6.
Well, no, and really where they come into play is when you have, let's say, a rooftop installation, where folks can be on that roof, and that's very common in more urban areas where we oftentimes use rooftops as antenna support platforms because there's not a whole lot of not a whole lot of room for towers and water tanks and billboards and other things that we can use in more rural areas. And you have folks up there by virtue of their employment, you know, whether they're HVAC professionals or roofers or what have you. And in those cases, when an individual can get within, let's say, 10, 15 feet of the front of the antennas, yes, those areas can be above exposure limits. So there's rules that we follow as an industry on how to mitigate that risk, including signage and barriers and things of that nature, and just generally the design of those where we put the antennas out toward the edge of the buildings. That way we limit those exposure areas. But that's really where, and that's a great question, but that's really where these guidelines become very important. Not that they're not always important, but.
So with knowing that this tower is going to go right with 2 schools, we got a middle school and an elementary school right there. Is there any concern that we're going to be producing more RF energy than what was on the water tower, or what is on the water tower today?
So I did take a look at that too, and it really comes down to height above ground level, because the energy from these types of facilities, from these antennas, on a blackboard or in a textbook, it decreases with the square of the distance. So every time you double your distance, you quadruple you take 1/4 of the power. And so distance is key there, which is why a rooftop scenario where folks can get very close to the antennas can produce those higher levels. But what we have here is some additional height, in fact, significantly so. In this case, where we have the lower of the 2 sets of antennas being T-Mobile here, planned at 185 feet above grade. At the water tank, which is about 120 feet, the carriers are at the crown of the tank. Their antennas are right in that range, 120, 125 feet or so. So they're much closer to the ground. Now, there is some elevation change in the areas surrounding the proposed pole. The grade actually comes up. If we look at areas within about a 1/4 mile, there are some peaks where there's some grade change that brings it up 50 or so feet, 40, 50 feet, something like that, maybe even a little bit more. 60 feet is kind of probably a very worst case assumption from what I looked at. So you end up with basically a net zero, let's say, where the height of the water tank, yes, it's lower, but that, as is typical, the water tank's located at a higher point to make best use of the gravity to feed the water system. Whereas we have this tower that's kind of sitting down a bit maybe with respect to the surrounding topography, but those 2 things balance out here. So and what Milestone's going to do here is go out and take those pre-measurements not only around the water tank but also on these 2 school campuses to see as a baseline, so we can actually compare and see what the addition of the tower has done to the radio frequency environment. We can see what the removal has done. from the water tank. But my calculations and my experience in this case I would say that the levels that we're going to see around the schools are going to be pretty much in line with what we already have in the areas surrounding the water tank, and in both cases complying by a very wide margin.
So,
Sure.
Can you speak to, as you know, we had, is my mic working? Thanks. So, you know, last month we had a community member come in and express interest or concern about what was happening as far as the cell tower is concerned. She had also provided, and I don't know if Candace got to hand these out or share with you, but she provided a document, a petition of about 50 signatures of individuals in that particular community that, you know, have their concerns as well. And I actually see a lot of them in the audience tonight. So, and this may not be a question for you, but so I'll just let whichever one wants to answer it. I know that you said you sent out 2 notifications to the community, and you said a half-a-mile radius. About how many flyers or mailers would you say that you sent out to how many people or homes, how many residents?
I want to say, I would have to go back and confirm, but I think I want to say it's at least 500.
500?
Yes.
Okay. So if you sent out 500 mailers twice, and then when you... Well, bear with me a moment, if you would. But if you sent out 500, even if they didn't go to the individuals sitting here, but you only had, and I understand on the Zoom call that night, you said you had 6 participants. I think some of those were district employees, so I wouldn't even count those as participants. I think there were 2 homeowners that actually called in for the Zoom to ask questions. Did it concern you or raise a red flag at all that you hadn't done a good job advertising what you were trying to do so people could express their concerns? Because what I'm sitting here now concerned with is that, you know, we made a decision, we moved forward with something and trusting the information that you guys had provided and trusting the administration, and we moved forward, we made a vote, and we signed a contract. And then after the fact, once it's kind of getting talked about, then I've got a large population of the community in here very concerned because they never got to express their concerns originally.
So every project is very different. So in some cases we have a lot of people show up in those town halls. In some cases we have 1 or 2 individuals. So there's never a gauge in a sense. They're all very different. So when we only had a couple of folks from the residents show up, it wasn't a surprise.
Okay, if I could, and we're really not, like, for the audience to ask questions, that's not what we can do tonight, really. So I'm sorry, I know you asked a question earlier, but what I would like to see is, you know, and if you guys object, just say no. We can't take a vote. We can't do anything like that tonight because that's not part of our agenda. But what I would like to see, if we had a general consensus, is that let's just put the brakes on for a second, do the testing that you're talking about as it relates to the water tower and then where the new location would be, and then allow these community members to come back on that Zoom call with you again so you can share those results and they can express their concerns and address some of the issues that they have. Because I would love for the community to be on board with the decisions that we're making related to this, because it impacts them as they live in that very specific area. So, I mean, just to give us, because you said you're going to do that in a couple of weeks, right?
Yes, we're scheduling that. I'm expecting to have a date tomorrow. And, you know, what we'll do is we'll post Andy's report on there, you know, this week. And the plan was to post that additional report on the website, on the project website, whenever that one's available.
And where's this project website? Is it something that's linked to our website that anybody can view, or do we know? Sorry.
Didn't we have that posted whenever the issue came? Okay, so we'll get that posted on our website to link to your site.
So would you be willing to do that and offer another Zoom so these community members can ask questions and address you directly?
Absolutely, yeah. As soon as we have the report, that way we have something to show. More than happy to have another call with them.
Okay.
And, we'll share with you the list of, addresses that we have for that radius that we'll send out to.
And maybe we could post something on our Facebook page or on the schools in that area, post something there and a link once a Zoom is set up. I would just like, since only 2 people out of the community that you sent the flyers to, since only 2 people showed up, but we have many more than 2 people tonight and then 50 on this petition. I just want to make sure that their voice gets heard and that their concerns are addressed.
Sure, understood.
So, is everybody okay with that?
I agree.
All right, I'm going to let you ask one question, and then I can't break any more rules.
You have already signed the contract, so this is a done deal, correct?
We have signed a contract, okay? But I want to make sure that everyone's concerns are addressed, and I don't see why we can't just take that step before we go down the road even further. And then we can circle back, because I'm sure Dr. Harris and Dr. Penland would be on that call as well. So I'm just trying to make sure that the community gets their voice heard. So. Okay.
Was the news media ever contacted at all?
I don't know the answer to that question.
I do. That the answer's no.
Okay.
Was
Yeah.
city government ever contacted? I know
They're
the
supposed
answer
to be
to that
asking
too.
questions.
That's no.
Okay, I want you to be able to get the answers you need. And I'm happy for you guys to ask as many questions as you want, but we just can't do it in this particular forum. So that's why the Zoom would be good again. And that if you have any specific questions that are related to the board or the administration as how this process went, please just reach out to us directly. Because I know any of us would be glad to talk to you. And if I don't know the answer, then we'll figure it out. We'll find the answer, so.
And I think, I'll say, if there's something really out of hand here, and it just comes to show that it's not a proper thing to do, we'll take steps to correct that. I mean, I know we've signed a contract, but if there's something here that's terrible and it's going to be harmful, I'm the first guy that's going to sit in line and go, I don't want to do this. But we have cell towers all over the place. And, the fact that if y'all go and look where the cell tower is today, it's not that much further from where it's going to be at today. So.
And that site's 150 by 150, so it's not too small. As stated earlier, it was 50 by 50 was the number.
Yeah, but you're talking about building a cell tower before you tear down a water tower.
No.
Yes, you absolutely have to.
So,
That's the goal here is to
okay.
set up a cell tower
Mr. Jenkins,
before they tear
Mr.
it
Lowry,
down.
let's not get back and forth. I just want to make, shame on me because I didn't do the due diligence that this section of the community has done before we got to this point and before we signed the contract. So I think that I don't think that we're doing any harm by just taking a break, doing the work as far as the RF emissions and testing that, and then allowing the community to speak up again. So I just think that's the right thing to do if everybody's okay with that. So, but. Other than that, we don't have any, or I don't have anything else for you, but the rest of the board may have something, I'm not sure.
Well, I appreciate y'all coming. and
Thank you so
presenting,
much,
and,
yes.
You know, it does make me feel better that there's engineers that are looking at this and, you know, making sure that we're not doing something that's just completely off kilter here. So I appreciate your time and effort.
Thank you. And I don't know if we have, Ms. Madden, or I see you back at the door, if there's a piece of paper that these members can write their name or email address on to receive the link if they want before they leave, I'm happy for us to do that. So, but thank you, gentlemen. I appreciate you coming tonight.
Thank you.
Okay. Lost my place. Okay, now we will move into our facilities report with Mr. Ben Thompson, if he is still in the room.
Greetings. Good evening, Board.
Good evening.
All right, good to be with you. Again, Ben Thompson here representing McMillan Patterson Smith Architecture. It was great to see earlier tonight the progress that's been made on Sanders Middle School. I love those quotes from the kids. I'm going to get those quotes and share those with our firm in that way too. So wonderful start when we talk about facilities tonight in that regard. Tonight, my purpose here is to really go over and summarize the last couple of years that we've been working in the background on planning for the future for your portfolio of buildings. As you're aware, we had short-term, mid-term, and long-term plans that we had to really think about to direct the district in the direction that it needed to go for its facilities. You heard Mr. Harris report back on some of the projects that are upcoming, some of the projects that are complete. All of those were part and parcel to that initial assessment that we did a couple of years ago. So this is the summation of kind of where we are today. We started with some very basic questions. How do we keep our schools up to date? You'll recall we went through a lot of facility assessments. We went through also growth trends in Lawrence County, Lawrence 55 here specifically, and we looked at your existing schools from a capacity standpoint, all in the effort to really understand what is possible and what is the best next step from that planning standpoint. So we were able to get to a maintenance plan, and now we are at that capital improvements plan, or that long-term plan stage. Great thing about these next couple of slides are these are not necessarily my words. These are y'all's input into what are the guiding principles that we as a board, we as a district are looking at in creating a long-term plan for the future here at Lawrence 55 from a facility standpoint. You know, those are words on the screen that I can barely read right now, but all of those are exactly coming from the discussions that we've had in multiple workshops and multiple interactions over the years. We also culminated that in looking at a long-term facility mission statement for where you want this long-term plan to go. And so I'll leave that with you. If you'll remember, we did a lot of exercises together to really come to what the purpose of this creation of this plan would be overall. So with that, we went through, once we had that planning, once we had that baseline of information as far as the data of facilities, about the costs, about the enrollment, about the growth, then we went through a series of exercises on what's possible. All of those came to a couple of different conclusions. We looked at those with you guys and decided that the highest priority was first your existing facilities, of course, from a maintenance and operational standpoint, safety and security issues, and of course the largest project that needed the most work, which was the district high school. Not to say that other projects aren't necessary as you move through time, but those were the three highest priorities overall. We also talked about last time specifically the methods in which funding, to begin to think about those in correlation with how are you providing this overall long-term plan. Right now, the district is using a pay-as-you-go model, meaning you're using your ongoing yearly tax funds to fund either improvements, renovations, additions as they come along. But there are other, methods available to you as you look at a larger investment or a larger plan, longer-term plan overall. Really what we're trying to do over the course of the next several months, and we'll get to the schedule on this in just a few moments, but what we're trying to do in the next several months is validate precisely what is needed in that long-term plan and really make sure that we understand the cost implications to that first, the needs that you have secondly, because they will continue to escalate. You heard Dr. Harris mention roofs. Those things are ongoing things that you have to kind of keep up year over year. So we have to mend all those together into a long-term capital plan overall. And just very briefly, where we landed the last time that we spoke was looking at each one of those elementary schools from a maintenance standpoint. We looked at some higher needs as far as circulation on those campuses we also looked at Ford Elementary School specifically more than the maintenance plan required, meaning there were some windows that needed to be replaced. There were some ADA accessible items that needed to be that need to occur on that campus specifically. So that's part of your pay-as-you-go or part of your ongoing improvement plan overall. Again, at Hickory Tavern and Lawrence Middle School, those are schools in which we kind of captured what the needs are from an enrollment standpoint and from a maintenance standpoint overall, so we're able to provide some direction in that ongoing plan as well. Separately and apart from, but part of that whole capital improvement plan is Great Court Owens K-8 campus, in which we do know that from a growth and trending standpoint that you have additional classroom needs out there and additional maintenance needs out there that are necessary in a midterm and long-term capacity. And finally, looking at that overall third part of the overall capital improvements plan, the high school. We went and looked at and evaluated the different scenarios for high school with you guys, and we found that a phased approach might seem the most appropriate here, both in terms of value, operation, and budget at the end of the day. You do have a significant piece of property that is already operational, so that's an important feature, something that you don't have to pay for in addition to what you have already. And the question was from you guys to me was, is it even possible on that site? So I think we looked at that last time and found that it is feasible to do a phased approach on this site. That does not mean that we don't have to do some renovations to the existing campus. We don't have to do some infrastructure changes and the like to really improve that campus holistically and comprehensively with any addition overall. So now, is it the right time? We're at that stage where most of the studying has been complete. We're at that stage where we want to start to get interactive with not only you as internal stakeholders, those at the high school, and make sure that we understand how the building needs to operate, how it needs to work educationally. So we're at that stage of engagement. We're also at the stage of engagement where we want to broaden that out to you guys first, and then the communities at large as well, to get their input overall. One thing that we would suggest in looking at the structure of that engagement would be first those initial meetings with from a master planning standpoint, so that we understand that program. That's what I mean by understanding how the space works for teachers and staff and students programs overall. So we'll be engaging with the district there to get boots on the ground at the high school to understand that side of it, so that we can provide you with an overall layout of what that facility might look like at the end of the day from a feasibility standpoint. So that's a series of progress that will happen over the course of the next 2 months. In addition to the master planning side of it, those engagement and listening sessions, there are a lot of vehicles that we've used previously that I would recommend that we continue to use. Surveys work well, broad-based. Those individual meetings where you can actually take commentary from community members directly, those seem to work pretty well as well. And then back to you at the end of the day for further discussion, analysis, and direction moving forward. So I'll stop right there. This is the 20,000 foot level before we get into the next 3 months of a lot of activity where we're gonna talk and engage not only here in this room but outside of these walls in the community overall. So want to make sure that's all right with you and keep moving forward.
I think, so do you think that by the end of, we're still in September, aren't we?
It is still September, yes.
For a minute, I was thinking we were already in October. So you think during the month of October, you will be able to have surveys completed and community listening sessions?
Probably not, well, surveys begun. I would roll those surveys for a couple of months this year so that you have the results at the end of the year going into next year.
Okay.
That way you can put yourself in a position to make a decision after all the other parts are complete as well.
Okay, okay. And the community listening sessions is what you would go ahead and start those in October? And
Right. I'd go ahead and get information out, go ahead and start those in October.
And are you thinking one at every school like we've done in the past, or do you have a different recommendation?
We
I'd
were,
start- Go ahead.
sorry, we
Oh,
were
go ahead.
originally thinking 6 and kind of do them in community areas.
Okay.
And trying to do one during the day here, so if people couldn't come, and
That's a
then
good idea.
trying to do different ones. But we're looking at the 2 weeks after fall break is trying to
Okay.
schedule those.
Okay, that's good. I mean, obviously, I mean, you know, we are only in the space that we could even consider this if the community says yes.
Sure.
So we want to make sure that every opportunity is given for them to provide feedback and see, you know, I noticed on these back few pages, you've got some layouts done, you know, for people to actually see what the option are, see what we're going to do to get their buy-in.
Right.
So,
Yeah, and I think that's an important point is these are all great ideas, and we've all worked in the analysis side of it for a long time. Now let's take it and make sure that this is precisely what you need from a community standpoint, and really put a budget to it, put a schedule to it, put some visualization to it, so that we
Right.
understand precisely what you're getting out of the equation.
yep. Okay. Thank you.
Any other questions?
Alrighty. Thank you so
All right.
much. I
Yeah.
appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay, and now we will move into, our board readings. Board policies, we have several for second reading.
So I'll just read these off and kind of give you opportunities to ask questions. If we would like, we can do all of number 3 together with one motion, since all of these are the second reading ones. So whenever you look at the first one, which is CC exhibit, this is the organizational chart. This has been updated to add district stakeholders, board of trustees, principals, and also names of the different members of cabinet. Any questions on CC-E?
No, I think unless it had some sort of change to it, you probably don't even have to, like,
Okay.
address it, like, unless there was some sort of change.
All right, and I think GBEC and GBECE, notice to employees, this was just the drug and alcohol-free workplace. Those were just kind of updated, and the rule was there to update that also. Policy GCR, dual and non-employment professionals. I don't think we made any changes from the first reading. Policy DJ, purchasing. We did make changes here and also changes from the original board packet that was sent out this time. The purpose was to combine the rule, DJR, and DJ into one document. So DJR, if approved, would be removed from the policy manual, just so that it is all wrapped up into the one. We also have added the statement at the end of the document to say superintendent authority to modify. That's just in case we have any absences, vacancies, emergencies, or medical or other circumstances that would warrant flexibility. Any such changes must be made within the intent to maintain operational efficiency and safeguard the district's financial integrity while ensuring appropriate oversight is preserved. Go ahead.
Yeah, so on this one, did everyone see that paragraph that came through for that one? As I was reading that, since this was an addition since the first time that we looked at this policy, if you're looking at the paragraph, I thought that it really just needed to state the superintendent retains the authority to modify approvers in the event of vacancies, emergencies, or medical issues, and not have the ability to change approval levels.
Okay.
So, but I did write that there. I know this came up after the fact, so I don't.
Okay. So we'll pull this one out whenever we vote and
Yes.
make a motion to change
Yeah.
that. So let me pull that right there. All right, so continuing on, we have policy DB, annual budget. I don't think there was anything that we changed on here from last time. I didn't bring my last month's notes. And then DGD-R is going into the purchasing cards. No additional changes there.
I think the only change you made, is that the one that you had business office or something, and you changed it to CFO?
CFO, but
Yeah.
probably so, yep. Policy DBJ, budget transfers. This is the one that just basically has to have board approval if we make any changes to the fund balance or anticipate going into the fund balance. That was not any additional changes from first reading. Policy DKC-E, there was a blank over there on the far right, and we filled that in. I think it was the 8.6 for adult ed. That's the only thing that changed there. Policy GCB, professional staff contracts. We did not change anything else, but the only thing that was added to this policy was that we would not rehire any employee that has been terminated or resigned in lieu of termination due to failure to comply with district policy. And then policy ADF, district wellness. The only thing that no changes from first reading. And then policy BEDA, board meeting notifications. This was the one that we just added, or designee to be able to do that, and also posted on social media. No additional changes from last meeting. ARIKAA-R, tests and examinations. This one we did change from first reading to clarify that the high school has the discretion to allow seniors to exempt final exams if they meet the following criteria, but everybody else is expected to take finals. School. I think that's all of second readings.
Okay.
So we would need a motion for all of them except
For DJ.
DJ.
So, if we can make a motion to approve all of the second readings with the exception of policy DJ.
I'll make a motion to approve all of them except DJ.
Thank you.
I'll second.
Thank you. Is there any questions or concerns? All those in favor of approving the second readings for all policies listed with the exception of DJ, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you.
So now we'll need a motion to approve policy DJ with the paragraph superintendent authority to modify, but removing the statement or adjust the required approval levels, and also removing, do you want to remove that too? Is that what you're?
Yeah, so just.
And also, that's mine, or other circumstances that warrant flexibility.
I'll make a motion that we accept the revisions that Dr. Penland just verified for policy DJ.
I'll second.
Thank you. Any questions or discussion? All those in favor of approving policy DJ as presented with the changes from Dr. Penland, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay.
All right, so let me get back in my book. Okay, we have two policies for first reading. This is the live stream. This is policy BEA, live streaming of board meetings. We already do most of this stuff. So this is now required by the state to be implemented by January. And so this policy just basically puts into the manual the requirements by the state, which we are already adhering to. It also lists out technical disruptions. If for some reason technology went down, we have so many days to post a recording of the video or audio in that standpoint. So that is BEA. Any questions on the live streaming? Okay, the other policy, EF, food service. This is just adding a statement for community eligibility provision program. This is our CEP where our students are eligible to eat free meals. This is something that's just required to document that program in our system, and so that will just be in addition to the policy EF. Any questions on that one?
How is that different from the fact that we're Title I district and we're already providing free meals?
Okay, Title I is a kind of a federal allocation based on the poverty of students, and that goes to fund supplies, materials, staffing to impoverished schools.
Okay.
Community eligibility is a USDA, more under the Department of Health, I think is the one that they're under now. So that funding comes in for reimbursements of meals to students.
So
And
we're already, this is what we're already doing.
This is what we're already doing.
Okay.
It's just solidifying it in our policy.
Okay, thank you.
All right. Any questions on those? All right, so that'll be first reading. We'll bring those back for second reading next month. And then the number 5, so we have 3 exhibits or rules that we did not clean up whenever we cleaned up a lot of these policies, and they were mostly in the forms. So whenever you look at JIAAE, which is the form for them to fill out, we're basically just removing the terminology gender identity. And that's the same thing on GBAA-E, just removing the gender identity to match our policies, and also with GBAC-R, removing the the reference to gender identity. Sexual orientation is still in there, discrimination, harassment, that does not change, that we're still against harassment and retaliation. It's just cleaning it up, those exhibits or rules to match our policies. Those are for information only. We'll just go ahead and make those changes, and those don't need a vote.
Okay.
All right, we keep going.
If anyone's keeping up, we're on section 3 of the board packet that Ms. Branham sent out.
I'm right there with you.
Yes. So now we are on number 6 under board operations. So we are now going into the Board of Directors appointment for First Steps. We have to request and get board approval for our appointment of an individual to this board, and we are requesting that we, or that you as the board approve Ms. Angela Compton to serve in that capacity of the board for First Steps. And this will need a,
Who picked her?
they recommended her from First Steps because it was replacing Linda Wessel, and she was an employee in the teaching and learning department. So they requested somebody to be on the, from the office of the,
So we will need a motion to approve Ms. Angela Compton to serve as our representative on the Lawrence County First Step
I'll
Board.
make a motion that we do that.
Second.
Thank you, thank you. Any discussion? All those in favor of approving Ms. Angela Compton as our Lawrence County First Steps Board of Directors appointment, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay. And next up is me. The South Carolina School Board Association has its annual meeting every December, and this year it will take place on December 6th at the Charleston Marriott. We will have 2 delegates go. One would be a voting delegate, one would be an alternate. This is something that we're not going to vote on tonight, but I wanted to make sure everybody was aware and think about it and consider your schedule if this is something that you would like to do. I know I've done it several years. I enjoy going down there. I know Heather did it. You were down
2
there
years.
2
I did it
years.
too.
Yeah, you've done it 2 years.
Last
so,
2 years in a row.
but if anyone else wants to do that, just speak up, and we will take a vote on that in October. So,
Okay, so you say one is gonna be a delegate and one's gonna be an alternate.
right, the alternate goes just in case the delegate can't.
Okay,
Something
so-
she's sick or he's sick or whatever. So we
Since-
send 2 people.
So since we have 2 votes, then we have to vote that proxy for that person to vote for both of them.
Whoever we choose to send down as the delegate and the alternate, we will approve as a board those 2 individuals. So when they arrive, they have the authority from the board to do both votes, either the delegate or the alternate, whichever one ends up in the room that day. So yes, we will vote on that and approve that next month.
But could you send 2 delegates, one to each vote, one person gets 1 vote?
No,
So it's
That's
one
not-
delegate that gets 2 votes?
yes.
Okay.
That's it. 1 person, 2 votes. Yeah. And that's just all directed by the School Board Association. Okay, now, Ms. Wendy Burgess for our school year, our 26-27 school year local board approved courses.
Good evening, one more time, Lawrence 55 School Board. In
Evening.
your packet, you noticed that there was a memorandum from the Office of Teaching and Learning. We are recommending that you approve the 49 courses for the 26-27 school year that support our STEAM learning and college, career, and military-ready graduates.
Are any of these new courses?
No, those will not be new courses.
Are there any questions for Ms. Burgess? Okay. If we could get a motion to approve these local approved board courses, local board approved courses.
I'll make a motion.
Thank you, Mr.
To approve.
Hughes.
Second.
Thank you, Mr. Jenkins. Any questions or discussion? Okay. All those in favor of approving the 26-27 school year local board approved courses, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay. Thank you, Ms. Burgess.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, in your packet, you'll see the monthly financial report. In your cash flow estimates, as of 8/31/2025, balance with the treasurer was $7,230,091, with revenues being $6,382,162, and the expenditures being $5,434,913, with the difference of being $947,249. Also, the total tax collections for the month was $402,535. Any questions on the cash flow, and then we can get into the monthly budget actuals.
Thank you.
All right, in your budget, the actuals, you also have the comparison for expenditures. You will see that through the August 31st, 2025, we have spent $5,434,913, and of the $59,771,000 that is budgeted, which represents 9% of our expenditures. For the months going forward, we'll add another column to this, and we'll add actual percent of used per budget line. So for example, whenever you look at repairs and maintenance, which is 323, you'll see that we've already spent $254,000 of a $870,000 budget, which is about 25% of our budget, which is kind of out of line of everything else. So this will just kind of help us to be able to see if there are some flags and some identification areas that we need to look at. I did look up that's a lot of lawn care maintenance. That's a lot of, getting the schools treated for bugs and that kind of stuff prior to, and doing a lot of that type of thing. So a lot of that's upfront purchases and expenditures that did kind of flag that to be a little bit higher than normal. Everything else seems to be within 1 to 16%. All right.
Thank you.
Then you have your budget to actual revenue comparison. You will see that in the revenue we have received $6,382,162 in revenue through August 31st, which is the budget of $59,771,000. We've received 10% of our revenue at this point in time.
I have a question.
Yes, sir.
332 under travel. Is the board included in that?
Yes, sir.
The board included in that?
Yes, sir.
Okay, I asked that because the last time Ms. Nance was told that she couldn't attend a conference. Is that correct?
Do you remember? Was that the end of last year?
No, that was was it to Atlanta?
I think that was the spring conference,
Yeah,
yes.
just sending one
Yeah,
person.
right. So we had, whenever we looked at the budget, that we were going to be out or be going barely over if we would have spent the second person, that would have put us way over budget for that. So yes, I did make the call to only send one person. So the 125,000 is not board only. That is all local travel, which some of that is principal travel, some of that is school level professional development, that's some district level, and it's also board included in that 332.
So you saying it's possible everybody else to use up the money the board have no travel?
It's all allocated based on different levels of travel. Like I said, so we already allocated so much to board, so much to schools, so much to other departments, and so everybody has kind of their piece of that 125, yes. All right. Any additional questions on the financial report?
I have 10 questions.
Okay.
I'm just kidding. I have no questions.
Is that all?
Yeah.
Thank you for the budget.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay.
Helpful.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Yeah, and I appreciate that you're going to add in that percent of use.
Yeah, that'll be
I really
helpful.
think that's going to be a great way just to kind of track, so. And Ms. Branham, we had no public participation, correct? So now we will need a motion to enter executive session.
I'll make the motion, we enter executive session.
Okay, Any questions? All those in favor of approving the executive session, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, here we go. All right, I'll call us back into order. It's 9:11. We have, it's 9:11. We have one item that needs board action from executive session, and that is to approve a list of certified employee resignations. If we could get a motion for that,
I'll make a
please.
motion to approve
I'll second.
resignation.
Get out of here.
Say, any comments or discussion? All those in favor of approving the certified employee resignation list, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? All right, it's approved. And you too. I gotta adjourn us. With no further business, I will adjourn our meeting. Thank you.
I think you've been our super